Our top stories this hour. According to the WHO forecast, the coronavirus pandemic might come to an end already in 2022. Learn more in our news digest. Refugee issues and counter-terrorism. What else is being discussed by the delegates of the 17th round of Astana talks on Syria? Stay tuned. Children's drawings on coins. The National Bank has put into circulation the collection Telashar. Economic recovery in Syria and improvement of the well-being of its population will be essential to stabilizing the situation and ensuring security in the entire region. This issue has become a priority at the next round of the Astana process, which is taking place in the capital of Kazakhstan. In addition, the agenda of the 17th international meeting includes a number of sensitive topics, such as the exchange of prisoners as well as support for refugees. In addition, the participants are worried about terrorist groups that are located almost across the country. According to Alexander Lavrentiev, the special envoy of President of Russia, the world community from today should work to prevent terrorist organizations from deploying their forces in this area. Therefore, traditional international negotiations are of particular importance. They are aimed at uniting those who are not indifferent to the problems that Syria is experiencing today.
В январе уже исполняется практически 5 лет с момента запуска столичного формата. Мы считаем, что он действительно сохраняет свою.
As you know, this January will be 5 years since the launch of the Astana process. We believe that it is unique in terms of the impact on the development of the situation in the world, on the course of political process. Therefore, first of all, here in Nur-Sultan, with representatives of the delegation of Turkey, Iran and neighboring countries, Iraq, Lebanon, we are going to discuss all those issues that will allow us to make progress towards resolving the Syrian situation.
Стараемся обсудить все те вопросы, которые позволят нам продвинуться вперед по пути сирийского региона.
We have made great strides in the negotiations within the Astana process, but I think that the results would have been much better if the Erdogan regime had fulfilled the task assigned to it by the Russian side. I thank the government of Kazakhstan for welcoming us and providing the opportunity to conduct negotiations. The economy of Kazakhstan has successfully adapted to the pandemic conditions, demonstrating a robust growth rate. Experts note that at present its indicators have reached the pre-pandemic level. Following the results of 11 months of this year, GDP increased by 3.8%. The country's foreign trade turnover from January to October reached more than $82 billion. This amount is 14% higher than in the same period of 2020. Experts also showed a steady growth of 23.5%, exceeding $49 billion.
По всем отраслям мы ожидаем, наблюдаем положительную динамику. Высокие темпы роста.
We are seeing a positive trend in all sectors. The manufacturing industry, electricity and water supply are growing rapidly. The country's information and communication sector has also grown significantly this year. In addition, our trade is now recovering very strongly, showing dynamic growth as well as the construction industry.
Восстанавливается, динамичный рост показывает. Стройка также, строительная отрасль.
The growth of the real sector, the development of trade and high investment activity in 2021 were the key factors in the steady development of Kazakhstan's economy. Investment this year has been concentrated in such areas as construction, manufacturing, agriculture and trade.
Именно по инвестициям последние 2 месяца.
In the last 2 months, the growth in investment has been positive and now stands at 2.6%. It is especially worth noting that the growth of investment is observed precisely in our non-extractive industry. Overall, except for mining, growth was 70.1%. This is one of the factors of the economic growth.
17,1%. То есть тоже это один из факторов именно роста экономики.
Kazakhstan registered 396 coronavirus cases in the last day. This time, the high single-day number of 74 infected people was recorded in the city of Nur-Sultan. 70 patients caught the infection in Karaganda region. North Kazakhstan region came third with 50 COVID-19 cases. Since the beginning of the pandemic, the total number of coronavirus cases has exceeded 983,000. Fortunately, the number of recovered patients is also growing. 765 people in Kazakhstan recovered from the deadly virus in the last 24 hours. The coronavirus pandemic could end in 2022 if 70% of the population gets vaccinated. Director General of the World Health Organization Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus made such predictions. According to him, WHO is concerned about the Omicron strain. Deaths are expected to rise due to the spread of this variant. According to the latest reports, a new mutation identified just last month has been recorded in more than 90 countries. For this reason, the organization is urging not to weaken security measures. We need to keep studying the origin of the coronavirus until we come to some results. We need to put in more effort because we need to learn from what happened this time in order to prevent similar situations in the future. We hope that China will provide more information. It is difficult to collaborate without transparency and data sharing, so we hope they will cooperate better this time. A revaccination campaign is underway in Germany. To date, already 30% of the population, or more than 26 million people, have received a booster shot. Due to concerns about the Omicron variant, residents of the country's capital of Berlin can get the third jab within 3 months after receiving the first 2 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. We must be prepared for the Omicron variant. New restrictions might be imposed. I think with the vaccination and the introduction of a booster dose, we will be able to withstand the new wave of the epidemic. The World Economic Forum in Davos has been delayed due to the spread of the coronavirus Omicron variant, according to the organizers of the event. The annual meeting was scheduled to be held in January 2022. It was decided to postpone it until summer. However, the exact date is not yet known. The decision to push back the forum is the second year running that COVID-19 pandemic has forced changes. Typhoon Rai death toll reaches 375 in the Philippines. Hundreds more were injured and 50 residents are reported missing. In total, about 1 million people were affected by the natural disaster. More than 400,000 were evacuated. They will not be able to return to normal life soon. The typhoon caused more than $2 million in damage to the country's agriculture. Infrastructure losses were estimated at $4.5 million. According to the Philippine authorities, this is one of the most powerful typhoons that the region has ever experienced. Typhoon speed reached almost 200 km per hour, with gusts up to 270 km per hour. The Kazakh tenge will weaken against the dollar in 2022, reported the Kursiv media outlet that published the forecast of economists and financiers. Experts from Kazakhstan associations of financiers believe that the US dollar will rise to 445 tenge next year. Chief research fellow of the Kazakhstan Institute for Strategic Studies, Vyacheslav Dodonov, opined that the average annual dollar rate will be between 455 and 470 tenge in 2022. The forecast is based on the assumption that the next year the oil price will be lower than in 2021, which will lead to a decrease in the inflow of foreign exchange earnings. The expert explained that smaller amounts of transfers from the national fund are planned next year, which means a reduction in the supply of foreign exchange from this source. Experts from the Eurasian Development Bank in turn predicted that the dollar will be around 434 tenge. The forex market forecast is based on an analysis of the fall in oil prices next year. The oil price in the world market is still falling. This was affected by the exacerbation of the epidemic situation in some countries due to the Omicron variant. The price of Brent crude fell by 4% to $69. Also, the market crashed by the excessive growth in US oil production. Therefore, analysts agree that oil prices will not rise next week either. No fireworks. Uzbekistan prohibited making, selling and storing pyrotechnics. Local law enforcement officers confiscated almost 6 million pyrotechnic items worth 2.18 billion som. Sputnik Uzbekistan reported. It is worth noting that these New Year's surprises, dangerous to the health of citizens, were illegally brought to the country. 54 violators have already been charged with administrative offenses. Fresh cabbage and carrots straight out of Kyrgyzstan. The Kazakh authorities agreed to purchase vegetables from the neighboring country in the amount of $1 million. In exchange, Bishkek will also import Kazakh-made products. The agreement was reached during the working visit of the Kazakh Minister of Trade and Integration Bakht Sultanov to Kyrgyzstan. The trip resulted in profitable food contracts signed by business people from the two countries. Quarantine is over. Ashgabat began to open markets. According to Chronicles of Turkmenistan news website, all retail outlets closed due to the coronavirus pandemic are supposed to open by the New Year holidays. Since the beginning of the pandemic, this country has been refusing to recognize the presence of COVID-19 cases, but imposes measures to prevent the spread of the dangerous infection. After a 4-month break, sellers in the capital's market were allowed to resume trading, but this will only be possible if they have a certificate confirming they are not infected. Parks and theaters have recently been opened in the country. Spontaneous landfills are on the increase in the city of Almaty. This is evidenced by the satellite pictures. For example, this pit on the outskirts of Nauruzbay district originally served as a quarry for the extraction of a building stone. But as soon as it stopped working, unknown persons turned it into an illegal landfill.
Расстояние между карьером и домами.
The distance between the quarry and the houses is only a few meters. It should be 1,000 meters in accordance with the building code. Residents complain about smells and there is a great danger of houses crumbling.
Опасность, что дома могут обвалиться.
There are several such landfills for household and construction waste in the city. 9 illegal dumps were found by the Space Monitoring Service in Mideo district.
Роют котлован и просто принимают мусор.
They dig the pit and just take the waste, including organics, which is prohibited and unacceptable at all. Subsequently, the soil and groundwater are polluted. Naturally, there is also an influence on the atmospheric air.
Есть и влияние и на воздух, на атмосферный воздух.
According to the state waste Kandastar, at the beginning of 2021, 16.3 million tons of debris were accumulated in Kazakhstan, not counting waste in spontaneous landfills. Experts are confident that the issue will be resolved only with systematic work within the new environmental code, since employees of relevant departments will be able to receive precise figures for each region for all types of waste. The multi-volume work entitled Kandastar was published in Istanbul. The book by the journalist Gulnaz Karimjan tells about the life of Kazakhs who live in different parts of the world. The first part of the book is dedicated to Kazakhs living in Turkey. It describes their life and culture. Also, the Kazakh diaspora celebrated the 30th anniversary of Kazakhstan's independence on a grand scale.
Söz uşağı cazı uqaladı. Жақсының аты өлмейді, ғалымның қаты өлмейді. Yani қат деген сөз, kitap деген сөз ұмытылмайды.
As a historian, I can state that this book has a special meaning. Thanks to this work, our future generations can get acquainted with the culture and life of the Kandas people living in Turkey. In addition, the book tells what exactly binds and unites all of us. We believe that it's very valuable and meaningful. This book is special for Kazakhs all over the world.
Maqsatı, müddəsi, qanışı orta ekende bu kitap əygilab otur. Sonusu mende erekşe kunga yede oylayımız.
Collectible coins with children's drawings will be issued in Kazakhstan. A set of silver coins with the denomination of 500 tenge and cuprinickel and nickel silver coins with the denomination of 1000 tenge was called Teleshar. They continue the customs national games of Kazakhstan series. The collection was made using the technologies of applying colored enamel and interference iridescent coating. The younger generation is renewing interest in the ancient music of the steppes. New children's orchestras were created in remote villages of eastern Kazakhstan. Children will be taught to play such old national instruments as zhetagen, sasırnay. For example, 8th grade student Gulim Orazgalinova learned to play shankobis in a year. She admits that it fascinates her with its unique sound. These instruments were collected thanks to the sponsorship of the district's Sustainable Development Fund. They donated 121 copies to schools worth 12 million tenge. Now the project organizers are to equip remote rural educational institutions, following the example of the Nazarbayev intellectual schools. We plan to invest 200 million tenge in each school. There are 3 pivotal villages of Katon-Karagay district in our strategy. These are Ulkenarın, Katon-Karagay and Urul, which have 6 schools. We intend to equip all 6 schools in the future.
Біздің балаларымыздың барлығы осы жетіген аспабында да ойнап тұр. Шаңқобыз, сасырнай.
Our children learn to play several instruments at once. They can play шаңқобыз, сасырнай, сабызғы. They are also learning to play such a rare instrument called таңғара.
Білмеген, естімеген, ұстап білмеген таңғыра аспабымыз келді. Аса таяқтың түр-түрі келді.
Educational facilities of Katon-Karagay were upgraded with the latest equipment. There are a small sewing workshop and a robotics classroom. The level of knowledge is not inferior to city schools, parents highlighted.